Just a reminder before today's programme that if you missed it, you can check out the previous episode of the Ident Review Extra, where we took a look at garden. And now, here on AMTV, it's time for the latest instalment of the Ident Review Extra, and this time, we jump across the seas to look at our first special ident of BBC2 in the 1990s. Hello, and welcome to the Ident Review Extra, the spin-off show that takes a look at one individual ident each episode and gives it the review it deserves. And today we continue our marathon through the BBC2 idents of the 1990s. Today on our BBC2 journey, we take a look at the first of the special idents that debuted on the channel throughout the 1990s.
Saturday on 2, a major season made in Japan.
From September to November of 1991, a special season of programming was to be shown on BBC2, all centred around the country of Japan.
This is Japan.
Today, the world's most dynamic economic force. A society seemingly Western on the surface, yet deeply rooted in Eastern tradition.
Japanese isn't really so much just a language as a whole way of thinking, way of feeling, really a way of being.
An introduction to the Japanese language and people, starting tomorrow at 6 on BBC2.
Now, BBC2 had dabbled with the occasional special ident in the past, namely at around Christmas time. However, this would mark the first occasion since the channel's rebrand in February of 1991 that an ident would be specially commissioned for a specific season. So let's take a look at the ident named after said season, Made in Japan. Well, this ident certainly lives up to its name. This sequence perfectly blends the familiarity of the BBC2 brand and the culture and the iconography of Japan. We see a symbol in the familiar aqua blue colour, the symbol actually being Japanese for the number 2. Fitting it is that, as soon as it disappears, it becomes a familiar shape of the 2 that audiences have already come to love by the autumn of 1991. The background as well is beautiful, with the recognisable red circle of the Japanese flag blossoming into view as the central symbol morphs and transforms. I would argue by the time you see the final image, you would know even before the continuity announcer begins to speak that the upcoming programme has something to do with the culture of Japan.
Now on to, we continue our season of films made in Japan, with a true story of the conflict between honour and loyalty in 16th century feudal Japan. Rikyū.
Made in Japan would serve its purpose well for the duration of the season it was named after, which came to an end in November of 1991. This sequence, however, showed that the new BBC2 branding was able to adapt and be creative when it came to marking special occasions, and as a first attempt of the 1990s, I hope you'll agree with me that this one does it beautifully.
And we continue our Made in Japan season now on BBC2 with Masaki Kobayashi's Oscar-winning film based on 4 ghost stories by the American scholar Lafcadio Hearn, who settled in Japan, immersing himself in the country's history and traditions. Kwaidan.
An absolute winner in my eyes, and one that I would argue remains one of the most identifiable of the special idents of the era. And whilst it was the first, it certainly won't be the last we look at as we go forward on our BBC2 journey. And so, we've come to the end, but before we go, the final words from our broadcaster. That was the Ident Review Extra. We hope you enjoyed, and that you tune in next time. Keep an eye on the community tab and the Sunday catch-up for further news about this programme, as well as others here on AMTV. But until next time, have a good week, and we hope that you'll join us again soon. Good night.